Let's be honest, it usually hits you at 3 a.m. You're staring at the ceiling, the house is quiet, and the math in your head starts screaming. You do a quick mental calculation of your savings, your 401k, your debt, and the result is a terrifying round number. Zero, or close enough to zero that it feels like the same thing. You're 45, maybe 50, and you feel like you've missed the boat. You feel like the compounding interest train left the station 20 years ago, and you're still standing on the platform holding a ticket that says, "I'll start next month." Stop. Breathe. I'm Blue Stewie. Yes, I am a blue, bald, illustrated avatar living on your screen. I don't have a heartbeat, I don't have high blood pressure, and I certainly don't have a retirement account. But I do have something better. I have the data, and I have the distance to look at your life without the panic. And the data says you are lying to yourself. You think you're broke because you bought too many lattes or because you're bad with money. That is the story that Gray Guy tells you. Gray Guy represents the average statistic, the ghost in the machine who believes the system works perfectly. But look at the reality. The financial landscape you are navigating is messier and more precarious than anything your parents faced. You aren't failing to save because you're lazy. You are fighting an economic war where inflation is the general and healthcare costs are the artillery. Data shows that 80% of households, essentially everyone you know, are one bad shock away from financial trouble. You aren't the outlier, you are the norm. The system has been actively undermining your best efforts for 2 decades. So let's kill the shame right now. Shame is a liability. It doesn't pay interest. It just taxes your energy. The truth? 45 years old isn't game over. It's halftime. And in the second half, we don't play with hope or generic advice. We play with exact, aggressive math. We are going to execute a 15-year sprint that does what the slow and steady crowd takes 40 years to achieve. We are going to turn that 3 a.m. panic into a tactical roadmap. But first, we have to stop the bleeding, because you can't fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. So let's look at the numbers. Here is the hard truth about starting late. You do not have the luxury of drag. When you are 25, you can afford to carry a credit card balance or a car note because you have 40 years for compound interest to outrun your mistakes. But at 45, that debt isn't just an annoyance. It is a mathematical vampire sucking the life out of your future. Many of you are trying to fill a retirement bucket while there is a hole in the bottom called 24% APR. And I know why the hole is there. It's not just impulse buys, it's the sandwich trap. You are squeezed between aging parents who need care and adult children who need a soft landing. You are swiping the card to pay for your kid's rent or your dad's prescriptions because it feels like the moral thing to do. Gray Guy, that average statistic, guilts you into setting yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm. He tells you to just pay the minimums and hope for a raise. Do not listen to Gray Guy. He is broke. We need to perform financial triage. We call this the zero debt blueprint. First, stop investing. Yes, you heard me. Unless your company offers a match, which is free money, stop throwing cash into the stock market if you are carrying high-interest consumer debt. The market might give you 8% returns on a good year. Your credit card guarantees a loss of 20% every single year. Paying off that debt is a guaranteed, risk-free 20% return on investment. Wall Street cannot beat that. Now, the method. You have 2 choices. Option A is the debt snowball. This is for those of you who need a psychological hug. You line up your debts from smallest balance to largest. You kill the tiny one first. You get a dopamine hit. You feel good. You attack the next one. It's emotional momentum. Option B is the debt avalanche. This is for the cold, calculating strategists like me. You ignore the balance size. You attack the debt with the highest interest rate first. It doesn't feel as good instantly, but mathematically, It saves you thousands of dollars and shaves months off your sentence. Pick one. I don't care which. Just pick one and become aggressive. You have to tell your adult kids the bank of mom and dad is closed for renovations. It's not cruelty, it's survival. You cannot be a burden to them in your 80s just because you wanted to be a hero in your 50s. Clear the deck, patch the hole, because in the next phase, we are going to need every single dollar to catch up. Now that we've cut the anchor of debt, we need speed. The biggest lie Gray Guy tells you is this: you only have 20 years left. It's too late for compound interest to work. Wrong. Compound interest is like a hockey stick. It starts flat and boring, then suddenly shoots up vertically at the end. The magic doesn't happen in years 1 through 10. It happens in the final years. The money doubles faster the larger the pile gets. You haven't missed the magic. You just have to start the reaction now. So how do we sprint? We use the age 50 supercharger. Most tax systems admit that life is messy. In the US, for example, once you hit 50, the government literally gives you a bigger bucket. They call them catch-up contributions. They let you stuff thousands of extra dollars into your 401k and IRAs tax-free. This is your nitro boost. You need to max this out. If you are 45, you spend the next 5 years ramping up so that the day you turn 50, you can slam that button. But where do you put the money? Here is the safety paradox. Your instinct says, I'm older, I should be safe. I'll put it in cash or bonds. That is fatal. You are not saving for a retirement at 65. You are saving for a life that could last until 95. That is a 50-year time horizon. If you sit in cash, inflation, the silent killer we talked about, will eat your lunch. You will be safe, but you will be poor. You need growth. The data shows that between ages 45 and 65, you still need significant exposure to the stock market. You need equities. You need assets that outpace inflation. Don't try to pick the next Amazon. You don't have time to gamble on single stocks that might go to zero. You buy the whole haystack. Low-cost index funds. Boring? Yes. Effective? Extremely. We are building a machine that works while you sleep. You automate the deduction from your paycheck before it ever hits your bank account. If you don't see the money, you can't spend it. You are not behind. You are a late bloomer with a sniper rifle. Fewer shots, but they all have to count. Let's talk about your paycheck. If you are 45, you have likely hit the midlife plateau. Statistics show that for most people, salaries stop growing right about now. Gray Guy tells you to keep your head down, don't make waves, and pray you don't get replaced by an algorithm or a 24-year-old who works for snacks. That is a strategy for obsolescence. We need to talk about career longevity as an asset class. You cannot afford to retire at 60 if you started saving at 45. You need to work longer. But, and this is critical, you do not want to be working 60-hour weeks in a cubicle when you are 68. You need a pivot. The market tells you that you are too old. That is a nonsense. The market is desperate for competence. Stop trying to compete on hustle. You cannot out-hustle a 20-year-old. They have more energy and fewer back problems. You compete on wisdom. You have 20 years of mistakes that you have already paid for. That is valuable. We need to launch a high-yield side hustle. I am not talking about driving a car for a stranger or delivering burritos. Those are low-value tasks. Leave those to the kids. I am talking about monetizing your professional capital. Consulting, coaching, specialized training. If you have been an accountant for 20 years, don't get a second job at a retail store. Teach small business owners how not to go to jail during tax season. If you are a project manager, sell your ability to organize chaos. You take the skills you already have, package them, and sell them back to the market at a premium rate. This does two things. First, it brings in cash to dump into that catch-up retirement account. Second, and more importantly, it builds a lifeboat. If your corporate job decides you are redundant, you don't panic. You just step onto your own boat and sail away. You are not an older worker. You are a premium consultant. Change the label, change the price tag. Now, I have to be the bearer of bad news. For some of you, even if you execute the debt avalanche, max out your catch-up contributions, and start consulting, the math still won't work. If you are living in the US, the UK, or Canada, the cost of existence is simply too high. In the US, a retired couple needs an estimated $330,000 just to cover out-of-pocket healthcare costs. That is after Medicare. That is not for trips to Disney. That is just to stay alive. If your savings account has $50,000 in it, that $330,000 bill is a mathematical wall you cannot climb. Gray guy hits that wall and gives up. He accepts poverty. We do not accept poverty. We change the equation. We use the nuclear option, the geo arbitrage. This is not about traveling. This is about economics. It is about earning in a strong currency, dollars, pounds, and spending in a cheaper one. If you cannot afford a dignified life in New York or London, you move to Portugal, Mexico, Thailand, or Panama. Suddenly, your rent drops by 70%. Your healthcare costs drop by 90%. That $2,000 a month Social Security check, which is poverty wages in Chicago, is upper middle class royalty in Chiang Mai. You are not running away. You are capitalizing on global inefficiency. The system relies on you staying put and paying premium prices for mediocre services. When you leave, you give yourself an instant raise without working an extra hour. It requires courage. It requires leaving your comfort zone. But ask yourself, would you rather be comfortable and broke in a cold apartment in the suburbs? Or would you rather be adventurous and solvent on a beach where you can actually afford to see a doctor? For the late starter, the map is your best financial advisor. What do you think? Write down in comments. Theory is nice, but execution is everything. You're going to treat the next 15 years like a military operation. I call this the sprint protocol. It breaks down into 3 distinct phases. Phase 1, the purge, years 1 to 3. This is the ugly phase. This is where you declare war on your own inefficiency. You are executing the debt avalanche. You are cutting the bleeding. You are telling your adult children that you love them, but the wallet is closed. Your goal here is not wealth, it is stability. You are building a cash runway of 3 months' expenses. You are finding the leaks in your bucket and plugging them with concrete. It will feel restrictive. It will feel boring. Do it anyway. Phase 2, the acceleration, years 4 to 12. This is the grind. Now that the debt is gone, every dollar that used to go to Visa now goes to your catch-up contributions. This is where you launch the side hustle. You take that consulting money and you do not touch it. You do not buy a better car. You do not upgrade your kitchen. You pretend that money doesn't exist. It goes straight into the machine low-cost index funds and you let it compound. You are living on your salary. You are banking your hustle. Phase 3, the runway, years 13 to 15. Now we look up. You are 60 or 65. You have a pile of cash. Now we decide where to land the plane. This is when you scout locations. Maybe it's Portugal. Maybe it's a smaller house in a cheaper state. You are running the final numbers on Social Security, which we will talk about next. You are testing your lifestyle to see if you can actually live on 70% of your income. Most people drift into retirement. You are going to land with precision. The gray guy hopes for a miracle. You are building a machine. So, you have the roadmap. You have the zero-debt blueprint, the catch-up math, and the income pivot. If you execute this, you will climb the mountain. You will arrive at age 65 with a nest egg that actually matters. But I have to warn you, climbing the mountain is only half the journey. Most climbers don't die on the way up. They die on the way down. In finance, we call this decumulation, and it is where the gray guy loses everything. You see, the government is patient. They let you defer taxes in your 401k for decades. But at age 73, they knock on your door with something called RMDs, required minimum distributions. They force you to withdraw money, which can push you into a higher tax bracket, trigger higher Medicare premiums, and explode your tax bill just when you need the cash most. We call this the retirement tax bomb, and then there is the Social Security trap. Gray guy grabs the check at age 62 because he wants the money now. He doesn't realize that by waiting until 70, he could have guaranteed an 8% annual return that is inflation-proof, a return you cannot get anywhere else on Earth. You can save $1 million, and if you withdraw it in the wrong order, you can run out of money in 10 years. I don't want you to just be rich. I want you to be efficient. Now, a brief logistical request. If this briefing gave you a single degree of clarity, press the like button. It is not for my ego. I am a two-dimensional drawing. I do not have feelings. It is for the algorithm. We need to teach the machine that people over 45 exist and that we are tired of watching prank videos. Force the system to show this to someone else who needs to wake up. And if you are brave, leave a comment below with the age you are starting your sprint. 48? 55? 61? Let's fill the comment section with proof that it is not too late. Gray guy hides in shame. We operate in the open. Finally, you need to subscribe. Not because you want to join a fam, please. Let's have some dignity, but because you strictly cannot afford to miss the next video on taxes. If you miss that one, the IRS wins. That is not a sales pitch. That is a threat. For now, I have compiled the late starter cheat sheet below. Don't celebrate yet. The sprint has just begun. I'll see you in the field.